Hello class, welcome to the next segment in the week 2 material, and in this segment we're going to continue talking about the idea of if statements and some of the other things that we can do with them. So in the previous segment we talked about how you can get the computer to test if a variable is equal to a particular value, and in this particular segment we're going to take a look at some of the other questions that you can get the computer to ask as part of an if statement. So we kind of have the same thing that we had before. We just have the same variable x, and you can see it's assumed the same value of 10 that we had before. And here we have also another if statement, but you'll notice here I have a greater than symbol in place of the double equal sign that we had earlier. So in this particular case, the computer is actually going to read this off probably as you would expect. It will ask if the variable x that is on the left-hand side is greater than the quantity that appears on the right-hand side. So here I'm getting the computer to ask if the variable x is greater than 0, which it is, and just like from what we can see up here, so just like any other if statement, if the condition up here is met, then the computer will act on whatever is indented below the if statement. And also, just like before, if this condition were to fail, then the computer would just ignore anything indented that appears below it. And if we go down here to line 6, here we have a similar question being asked, but instead of the greater than symbol, we have the less than symbol. So again, just like you may have guessed, here we're going to be asking if the variable x is less than 0. And again, if that condition were to be met, then just like any other if statement, whatever is indented directly below it will be something that the computer acts on. And in this case, we can see this condition fails because 10 is not less than 0, so that means the computer is just going to skip this indented statement that appears below the if. And then down here, I'm asking if x is exactly equal to 0. So again, that uses the double equal sign, not the single equal sign. This is just a similar if statement that we saw in the previous segment. And if x is exactly equal to 0, then the computer will act on whatever is indented below it. And if I had an unindented statement like I had in the previous segment, then again, that unindented statement will run no matter what happens with the if statements. But just based on the logic that I just walked through here, we would expect that the computer would print out x is positive and only x is positive because these other two conditions fail. 10 is not less than 0 and 10 is not equal to 0, but 10 is in fact greater than 0. Since this is the only condition that is met, this is the only indented statement that runs, and if we were to verify that result for ourselves, we run the program and we can see it does in fact print out x is positive. So that's just a quick segment looking at the greater than and less than symbols. And in the next segment, we're going to take a look at greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, which gets a little bit more interesting. But we'll tackle that in the next segment. So with that, I will see you all in the next segment.